Smashing Pumpkins, one of the most important bands of their generation. In this interview, we'll talk about Billy's background, how he writes songs. We'll listen to some Smashing Pumpkins songs and see Billy react to them. But before that, if you're new to the channel or you've been watching and haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now. Here's my interview. Billy, welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to sit here with you. So I've been a Smashing Pumpkins fan since Gish came out, 1991. I've gone through a few different periods of going back and listening to your early records. The thing I noticed with Gish, for example, is that even today, there's nothing that sounds dated about it. It sounds so modern. Why do you think that is?
No idea. Because at the time, when it came out in 1991, all the reviews were like throwback, psych, hippie crap, jam band, Grateful Dead.
What record were they listening to?
I don't know. I think it was so not what people thought music would be that they grasped for comparisons. I mean, there's reviews that were like, they sound like a cross between REM, the Black Crowes, and Jimi Hendrix or something. It was like, it would be like it didn't even make sense. Like the DNA splices they would put together to try to describe our music was so off. I think part of it is that we didn't know what we were doing. So what we did do was an invented language wholly onto ourselves, and it made sense to us. And it shocked us when people reacted, not so much negatively, we were used to that. It was like they didn't understand what we were doing. We're like, it's just kind of rock and roll. Like it sounds like Blue Cheer or something. You know what I mean? Like we didn't think we were so far off the grid that we were doing something, say, as strange or different as Primus or something, where you would go, oh, that's really different. And Les is playing so differently. Or even Flea's approach to like funk bass, but the application in the Peppers. We didn't feel we were that different. So when people reacted to us almost as if we were heretics or something, it was sort of strange to us. And there was also the whole other thing of like playing solos, which was verboten in alternative circles at the time. You weren't supposed to play solos. And if you even think of like Kurt on Nirvana, he would play like ironic solos. They weren't real guitar solos.
But they always had solos. This is the thing that bands of that time period, people would say later on, oh, there were no solos in the 90s. Like, wait a minute. It's like every band in the early 90s.
Yeah, like Kim Thayil would play solos, but they weren't solos played by people who were necessarily trying to play like Ritchie Blackmore. I was trying to play like Ritchie Blackmore.
Exactly.
So my father was a guitar player, so I came from that root of like, if you're gonna play a solo, you better play a good solo. Like there was a pressure on me from that. As far as the modernity question, I couldn't tell you. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with Butch Vig's recording. This is clear and crisp and very direct, and I think that holds up well.
Did Butch have anything to do with? Did he say to you, "This is cool"? Did you just let you guys do your thing and he captured it?
Pretty much. We had done demos starting in '89 in a home project studio in Chicago with a guy named Mark Inafo. And if you listen to those demos from '89, they basically sound like Gish before Gish. So I'd already worked out the sound of the band. Butch just took it to a whole nother level. And then he was insistent on things that Butch would be insistent on. Tuning, timing. I remember one time I was singing a vocal and he was like, "You're out of tune." And I was like, "What does that mean?" I knew what he meant in terms of like, if you're tuning guitar, like but he was like, "Oh, you're sharp." And I was like, sharp against what? I couldn't even contextually understand what he was saying. So I think we were talented people who developed our own musical language, and I had enough of a production sense to put the band together in a way that was tidy and efficient. Butch took that and made it way better than it would have been if we just did it on our own. But there's a direct line from what we had done on our own and what Butch did. And Butch was a great facilitator in that he recognized what was strong about the band and he amplified that, particularly built around Jimmy's drumming.
One of the things that separates you from a lot of people is that you write great up-tempo rock songs. And I think that's one of the hardest things to do. Cherub Rock, for example, up-tempo. The first two songs on Gish are up-tempo songs.
Sure. My father being a guitar player, my father always played in R&B bands. Mm-hmm. And I think this is something that growing up in Chicago and listening to Curtis Mayfield and a lot of great African-American music, I think that's sort of an
Wir sind wieder da.
misunderstood thing about us is that there's a lot more rhythmic energy in our music, and that's what
Wieder da.
Say trying to play up-tempo rock, we're playing more up-tempo rhythmic music
Hey Marc,
that comes across.
was geht bei dir?
I think that's probably
Es geht
something
weiter.
that it's like you used to say shake
Der
it out.
Grind
You
geht
know, like,
weiter.
song like Shiva or Chair Rock, there's a sort of inherent kind of thing in there that's
Was machen wir als nächstes?
that's what's
Seite
interesting about that. I think
7.
we're more and I'm speaking for Jimmy Chamberlain too. I think we're more tonal. Like people would always say
Aber
music is
vorher
depressing or something. We don't think
mache
of
ich
music as
mal
depressing. We understand why people think it, but
Arbeit,
it's
genau.
a tone.
Vorher mache ich mal hier
Coltrane
meine
playing. I can never say that is
Vorher mache ich meine Auftragsarbeiten.
But is that
Dann
depressing?
mache ich mal. Ich muss mal gucken, wie ich hier
Beautiful,
überhaupt
it's
rankomme.
stately and it
Also,
expresses
was
the
war das
breadth
von
of
Nier
love
Automat?
and
Aber erstmal
like,
deinen.
it's a
Da du ja
language
hier
that,
anwesend bist, will ich dich
you know,
mal
so
ein bisschen.
we would think of it more in terms of violence or something. Like there's a certain violence in the way that we play. So a song like Shiva would have a particular type of violence that would be more based on taking LSD and listening to Ravi Shankar and like mixing it with Black Sabbath or something, like faster with Sabbath. A song like Chair Rock, that would be more like that's basically us doing Rush or something.
Right.
Like basically the beginning of Chair Rock is ripped off from Bytor and the Snow Dog by Rush. It's a straight rip off of Rush. But the backbeat rhythm, to me, we see that.
So.
When you say Chair Rock being up tempo, we see that as a halftime song.
Kleiner.
This is the
Well,
rhythm.
Bisschen schwierig zu zeichnen. Kleine Qualle. Kleine Weltraumqualle. Hier noch mit Bewegungslinien. Ui. Kleine Weltraumqualle.
But we saw that as
Dann als
but we
nächstes.
saw that as the Who. If you listen to the
Was
backing
brauche ich
tracks
noch? Den
tonight without the strings, it's just like the Who. We're just
Das
basically doing the chord.
Viech von Nier Automata.
It's like very busy drumming.
filtered through
Emil.
taste, right?
Sure, but that's what I mean about tone. Like the way we talk internally is about like we'll say something about Sabbath, but we're not trying to sound like Black Sabbath. It's the way Black Sabbath makes us feel, and whether we're reapplying that sort of dynamic in a way that gives us the same feeling, but we're able to put our own spin on it. And I think that's something that's always confused people about us, is because we're not interested in mimicry. We're interested in assimilating tone and then sort of regurgitating in a way that seems novel.
You're an incredibly great.
So, ich glaube,
You've had a
ein bisschen quer.
Tell me about your process of writing melodies.
Die Zugquallen auf dem Flugschiff bei Runa machen immer Fump, Fump, Fump. Okay. Das kenne ich gar nicht. Ich bin so tief bei Runa noch gar nicht eingestiegen. Ich habe es nur ab und zu mal reingeschaut und gedacht, das sieht eigentlich ganz cool aus. Aber ich habe es noch nicht intensiv durchgelesen. So, welcher fehlte noch? Das Schiff ist auf den ersten 2 Seiten. Ja, ich habe immer nur so zwischendrin mal Immer wenn ein Link auf Twitter war oder so, habe ich mal drauf geklickt und dann war ich so irgendwo in der Mitte oder sowas. Oder auf dem Webcomic. Also ich habe es noch nicht vernünftig von vorne angefangen bis hinten durchgelesen oder sowas.
You'll have a phrase like, please don't leave me, whatever. And sometimes those are bad because you can't get rid of them later.
Right.
You get stuck with the please don't leave me lyric. I try to write lyrics towards the very end when I have the tone of the piece in front of me, and then the vocal is sort of matching. Almost all the famous songs that people would point to, the lyrics were written
So.
way late in the process.
Irgendwas habe ich vergessen. Ich glaube, Ralf hatte sich noch irgendwas gewünscht. Muss er mich dran erinnern. Also.
Lyrics have never been a problem. I think writing good lyrics are a problem, but writing lyrics is always. I think it's always the delineating point between like bad high school songs,
1500?
having something fresh to say, and with us because the music's very emotional. That's why I think tone is so important, because say
Morgen.
something like "Please don't leave me" or "I love you" in the right
Moin,
moment,
moin.
it can be like a shot through the heart.
Yeah.
In the wrong moment, it's excruciatingly poor form. has a lot to do because it's ultimately the marriage of melody, the rhythm of the melody, the tone that you're singing in.
Sind wir bei 75%? Warte mal, lass mich mal kurz. Lass mich mal sehen. Wow, noch nicht ganz, oder? Bei 4500. Bei 4500 sind wir auf 75%. Aber knapp, ganz knapp. Es könnte sein, dass wir tatsächlich bis Weihnachten 4711. Also das ist mal ein Meme, das wirklich niemand verstehen wird. Ich gehe durch Wasser. Das werden nur alte Säcke verstehen. Alte deutsche Säcke. Alte deutsche Säcke, die zu viel Fernsehen geguckt haben, die zu viel Fernsehwerbung konsumiert haben in ihrer Zeit.
Good question. I mean, our joke is, if you want to know the secrets, it's all about the seventh and the ninth.
Lieblingsgetränk alter Alkoholikerin. Nee, das ist Klosterfrau Melissengeist. 4711, das ist noch ein Level darunter.
Or play a same C chord but add the ninth over the top on the D, and now you sound a little bit more shoegaze. It's kind of hopeful-ish, a little bit of sort of up in the chord. Like you bring up Daydream, that was influenced by My Bloody Valentine, and Kevin Shields did such a wonderful job of playing these kinds of sevenths and ninth chords.
Damals alles mit Alk gesoffen, ja. Parfüm. Andoja, hallo. Hallöchen.
It's a mixed set of emotions, and I think people used to ask me more about that in the beginning.
Ah, verdammt. Bei dem Namen klingelt eine Glocke, Andoja. Aber es ist, glaube ich, zu lange her. War das 2017? Als das letzte Mal in einem Stream dabei warst? Ah, okay. Ah, Lisa. Hi. Das war's doch. Ich glaube, das war 2017, oder? Dass du das letzte Mal im Stream dabei warst? Ja, genau. Richtig. Das ist sehr lange her. Hallo. Schön, dass du dabei bist. Willst du auch auf meinem, obwohl das kannst du dann Weihnachten selber machen. Kannst du auf meinem Gips was drauf zeichnen. Hallo. Seit Frauengold abgeschafft wurde, bleiben die Alkis ja nichts anderes übrig. Ja. Also wenn ich mal das durchschnittliche Supermarktregal mir anschaue, dann besteht, glaube ich, was alkoholische Getränke angeht, besteht absolut kein Mangel an Auswahl. Ich glaube, das wird das Letzte, was jemals in einen Mangel kommen wird, ist Alkohol. Brot, Klopapier, all das, Öl, Mehl, Pasta, aber Alkohol, wenn die Zivilisation untergeht, das Letzte, was wir haben werden, ist Jelzin-Wodka. Frauen durften damals keinen Alkohol kaufen. Ach so, okay. Nur nicht ohne Erlaubnis ihres Mannes, ja. Ja, ich war dann mal auf deinen Gips. Aber du darfst nicht gucken, was es wird. Ja. Medikamente oder Parfüm dagegen. Ja, ist so krasse Die armen Frauen, das durften sich nicht wegknallen, um ihrer tristen Realität zu entkommen. Vielleicht haben sie deswegen inzwischen aufgeholt, was all diese Herzkrankheiten und sowas angeht, weil Frauen jetzt legal saufen dürfen. Und dagegen half dann Frauengold. Der Werbespot dazu ist auf YouTube. Gut, dass die Zeiten vorbei sind. Leberschäden sind endlich keine Männerkrankheit mehr. Das ist so wie... Endlich dürfen Frauen arbeiten. Was? Ihr wollt arbeiten? Seid ihr wahnsinnig? Endlich die Freiheit, sich ausbeuten zu lassen. Juhu! Naja gut, besser von einem Arbeitgeber, den man wechseln kann, als von einem Ehemann, den man nicht wechseln kann. Ne? Ja, stimmt, das ganze System funktioniert eigentlich nur in der Kombination. Scheidung muss verboten und geächtet sein. Irgendwann wird das so, dass seinen Job zu kündigen wird verboten und geächtet sein. Ich meine, geächtet ist es schon, aber... Um jemanden effektiv zu knechten, musst du halt alle Alternativen ausklammern. Oha, ich habe Fehler gemacht. Der Arm muss viel länger sein. Hannes, ich bin deine Schwester. Nein, das ist nicht wahr. Das ist nicht wahr, niemals. Ah! Es kann nur eine Schwester geben. Technisch gesehen... Oh, hi, Ralf. Also technisch gesehen kann es schon mehrere Schwestern geben. Aber es kann nur eine Lieblingsschwester geben. So viel ist klar. Bist du durch mit all deinen Hausarbeiten? Wenn ich nicht die einzig wahre bin, dann gibt es keinen Platz. Heute machen wir Einkauf für die Feiertage. Ich mache Smash Burger. Smash Burger, also das ist jetzt kein Das ist jetzt kein Code für irgendwas Anzügliches, ja. Ach stimmt, du hattest mir Smashburger, hattest du mir sogar erklärt. In Stuttgart. Die gesmashten Burger. Ich sag mal, die Konnotationen sind natürlich die Konnotationen des Wortes. Das ist ein bisschen wie bei Matrix, die Sex Crispies bei Matrix. Lieblingsschwester ist die mit den teuersten Weihnachtsgeschenken, die immer babysitten kommt. Stream anschaut und aktiv im Chat ist. Oh ja. So, jetzt muss ich den Arm des Aliens muss ich nochmal, also des zweiten Aliens muss ich nochmal überarbeiten im Panel von der Vorseite. Ist nämlich zu kurz. Zu kurz. Smashburger sind Stück Fleisch, aus dem milchige Saft austritt. Oh, oh, oh. Also das ist jetzt diese Kombination von Bildern. Die Kombination von Bildern war übel. Bei Hannes ist alles zu kurz. Und dafür ist die Leitung lang, ja genau. Und mein Gips ist auch nicht zu kurz. Warte. Und der hier ist auch nicht zu kurz. Ralf, ich glaube, mit dem roten Shirt hat das die Farbkombination von Iron Man. Ja, aber mehr so ich sag mal, die von den klassischen Comics. Inzwischen ist ja das Gelb zu Gold geworden, mehr oder weniger. Oh ja, genau. Ich bin der politische Vertreter dieser Koalition. Oh. Gesundheit. Und er ist auch noch tatsächlich ein Ampelmännchen. Er hat auch einen Gips. Gesundheit. Danke. Mittlerweile in Kapitel 4 reingeholt? Nee, leider. Ich habe noch keine Zeit gehabt. So sehr mit Zeichnen beschäftigt. Was? Dann weißt du doch alles noch gar nicht, dass Kato endlich eine Perücke bekommt und August aufs Gesicht fällt. Niram zum ersten Mal im Leben nicht wie ein Emo guckt. Niemals. Neros Emo-ness kann nicht, da kann man keine Kompromisse machen. Wir brauchen unseren Mopey Boy. Ohne Mopey Boy fällt alles auseinander. Genau, Mopey McMopeface. Je länger ich drüber nachdenke, desto mehr erinnert mich der Kali hier an das Frosch-Alien aus Enemy Mine. Das ist sehr cool, das sind ein paar echt schnelle Seiten. Lassen sich echt schnell zeichnen. Und ich gewöhne mich auch immer mehr daran, den linken Arm nicht für die Tastatur zu benutzen, sondern das alles hier über diese Funktionstasten hier zu machen. Ganz praktisch. Lisa, wie ging es eigentlich Max nach Dienstag? Hast du ihn gestern gesehen? Wie lief seine Deutscharbeit? So, ich werde langsam müde hier. Ich brauche ein bisschen was Härteres. Ah, hier habe ich. Den habe ich noch vergessen. Äh, aber mal ehrlich, jetzt Kato mit Goldmaske und George Washington Perücke. Das könnte irgendwie aus Bioshock kommen. So ein wahnsinniger Gründervater. So ein Gründervater-Fanatiker. Thomas Jefferson! Thomas Jefferson war Gott! Ist der wiedergeborene Jesus Christus. Ich habe jetzt Bioshock verstanden. Ach, nee. Bioshock. Thomas Jefferson Zombie Hunter. Benjamin Franklin ist der beste Mensch, der jemals gelebt hat. Ja, ja. Komm mal wieder runter. Ich glaube, ich habe gerade Hannes kaputt gemacht. Ja. Ja, auf jeden Fall. Allein das zu machen, was ich gerade hier mache, in diesem Projekt zu arbeiten, zeugt schon von, eigentlich bin ich unzurechnungsfähig. Eigentlich müsste ich entmündigt werden zu meinem eigenen Wohl. Ich glaube, es gilt so für ungefähr 50% aller Bundesbürger. Nee, der Zeichnerdefekt, das ist eine, das wird bei Geburt diagnostiziert, dass das Kind den Zeichnerdefekt hat und dann wird es gleich aussortiert. Das ist gleich eine Late-Term-Abortion. Wird dann postnatal gleich abgetrieben. Doch, der Zeichnerdefekt. Herr Doktor, was ist das? Es tut mir leid, ein Comiczeichner. Ja, genau. Das meinte ich. Diagnose Comiczeichner. So. Okay. Ah, shit. So. So ein bisschen. Text. Wie war das auf dem anderen? Alexa, was spielt er? Alexa ist nicht hier, um dir zu helfen. Oh. Das bin nur ich. Ich habe die Macht. Es gibt keine Alexa, nur Hannes, genau. Wo ist Annie? Wo ist Annie? So, wir nähern uns hier der Fertigstellung. Dürfte nicht mehr allzu lange dauern, die Seite. Es ist 11:15 Uhr, also bis 12 wäre ich auf jeden Fall fertig. Und dann sind es nur noch 47 Seiten. Saw one guitar that blew him away. Gonna be a jukebox hero. Got stars in his eyes. Irgendwie muss ich immer an Jukebox Hero denken bei dem Lied. So, Jukebox Hero meets John Carpenter. Foreigner meets John Carpenter. Kann man das beschreiben? Ist das Chill Metal? Ich glaube, Stoner ist es. Stoner Metal ist Chill Metal. nein, 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 nein. Cool. Okay. Cool. Perfekt. Sehr gut. Vielleicht mache ich noch ein paar Verfeinerungen am Ende, aber im Großen und Ganzen steht das Ding. Ich muss nur noch die Vorseite korrigieren. Weil der Arm zu kurz ist.
Very exciting to me because I would listen to a lot of bands that I really liked.
Easy peasy. Easy peasy.
So many great bands out of the UK. Bauhaus. I sit here for 10 minutes and talk about Echo and the Bunnymen. Very influential, but you didn't necessarily get the rock.
The rock that My Bloody Valentine and Swerve Driver had.
Or Sisters of Mercy, even.
Right.
Wayne in particular, like brought a rock. So I was always looking, starting as early as '85. I was looking for the rock thing in UK music.
Yeah.
So Kevin was one of those people, like, kind of gave me the keys to it. It was like, oh, I can kind of see how that would work. Like playing these big chords, like with sevenths and ninths, but like blasting the shit out of them through Marshalls. And then James and I would play, whether it would be different octaves, and then we started bending, and you would get this like LSD trip feel, like
right.
Rrr. So we kind of took our own version of the rrr, but we put it in our left hand, where Kevin used the whammy bar and the reverb to kind of create the cloud. We started doing it physically, and then Jimmy, being such a propulsive drummer, he would like lean into the rrr, sort of like chair rock.
Right.
So, yeah, it was very exciting.
It's interesting that you say cloud, because I always think of this as a cloud of distortion, a beautiful cloud, dissonant cloud or something, and that's the shoegaze. That's what makes it that.
Let me give you one little thing
Die
that
Hand,
Alan
muss ich die
told
Hand
me,
auch machen?
Because of course I picked his
Ich glaube, die Hand
brain
muss ich
about
auch machen.
everything that Kevin would do in the studio. Tell me what a day is like in the studio with Kevin. He said he would spend 7 or 8 hours getting the guitar sound.
Okay.
And literally sit there at the EQ board and go like sweep, tone. He said there would even be a dog in the studio, and he would look for the things that would make the dog go like this, right? And then he said he would spend 7 or 8 hours getting the sound, and then one take. Okay.
So you worked with Butch, then you worked with Alan and Flood, and tell me the difference between them as producers and what they bring as producers, engineers, and their demeanors, what they brought to the different records.
Ah, fuck.
Well, let's start. It's easier to do it by category.
Yeah.
Engineering. Yep. 3 ace producer engineers. You want to talk about being blessed by talented people.
Yes.
I mean, think about the people I work with. Butch, Flood, Alan Mulder. I mean, you're talking about an assassin's crew of engineers.
Yeah.
Great producers. Now, producing mind. Butch, very American. Let's get it perfect. Let's get it in tune. Let's keep it real clear and tidy and punchy. Butch like a good punch. Butch being a drummer. Loved a great kick drum sound. Certainly vibed off of Jimmy. So built everything in the Pumpkins around the drums. Kind of left the guitar department to me. Kind of like, I don't understand what the fuck you're doing over there, but you kind of do your thing. But I'm very focused on rhythm.
E.T. nach Haus.
Flood,
Ja,
very much a
nach Haus
deconstructionist because he came out of
telefonieren.
that Eno camp.
Ui.
I think Flood's first session ever as a T-boy in England was with Joy Division. So Martin Hannett, geniuses of people with vision of how to apply sound and aesthetic into a production style. So you're inheriting this wealth of information. Unforgettable Fire, Violator,
Right.
totally different tonal experiences, and then being able to apply. Flood Butch was very attracted, let's call it the shiny chrome Siamese dream, obviously, this kind of beautiful, fuzzy, beautiful dream. Flood was like, I'm into the darkness. Give me the down-tuned, scary pumpkins. And we were like, okay. Nobody ever wants that from us. We like that, but nobody likes us. So we went off the cliff with that. Alan, having bridged both eras, Alan's one of those rare people where somehow he takes a
Mist.
rock song and makes it sound better
Jetzt habe ich jetzt davon, dass ich keine Alpha-Maske benutzt habe für die Textur. Typisch, ganz typisch, aber kriege ich schnell wieder hin.
Which is very rare for a UK guy.
Right.
I mean, I think it's very notable that when Zeppelin reunited and did the O2 concert, it was Alan that did the mix on that. I think that says a lot, that somebody like Alan can wrap his arms around that legacy and still bring the rock, but it's a sort of certain way of doing it. It's not the brutal slam it through the compressor wall. It's a sort of finesse thing. So anybody who would know, go listen to those Swerve Driver records, which Alan produced and mixed. There's such beautiful detail, but they rock.
They rock.
So it's this beautiful thing of like, you can hear shit, and it's so cool what they're doing, but you still want to crank it up. You don't feel like, I don't know. It's an American versus UK thing, but a lot of time the UK music, it just doesn't rock. That would be the Pumpkins way of putting it. It just doesn't have the...
You know, I interviewed Adam Franklin from Swerve Driver, and I asked him, I said, how did you meet Alan Moulder? He said, I met him at a bar.
Sounds
and he's
right.
like, oh, I produce records. I should produce you guys. Or like, this is, I said, come on, that's not true. He said, no, that's actually how.
But
how
Alan's the sweetest guy, so if you know Alan, it makes sense. I've spent thousands of hours with these guys, so it's hard to say, here's Alan Moulder, here's Flood, here's Butch in a beautiful box. There's such talented people. It's hard to express when you're in there with them. It could be a joke, it could be an insight, it could be an understanding of a musical languaging thing, it could be knowing what piece of gear to reach for. It's such a beautiful experience because everything curates into the better result at the end of the day. And you know, you're a musician, you have an ego, and you think like, oh, I wrote this song, it's my thing. And years later, when you really sit back, you go, oh man, they really did me a favor. Because you'll hear rough mixes or demos, and you think, oh man, you know, it's one thing to say, you know, I wrote this classic. It wouldn't have happened without those guys. Absolutely.
Shit, habe ich jetzt
Nur
Probleme, ey.
Those guys had so much to do with what we
Nur
Did
Probleme.
you know at the time when you when you did Siamese Dream, did you know the songs that were going to be the big hits? Did you have an inkling of that Disarm would be a big song? Or tell me about that. When you finish a record, or are you just over it when it's done?
Well, that's complicated because the process of making the record was torturous. And
That particular one, right?
well, because we had signed to Virgin. They put us out on Caroline first. We had the biggest independent album of all time.
Yeah.
Gish.
Yep.
But we're basically kind of a psych jam band, right? They wanted to re-release the record on Virgin, and I fought that. So I basically stuck my foot and said, let me make a record that would be more apt to the atmosphere that exists now, which is, let's call it the post-Nirvana Pearl Jam era, where everything's on MTV. And Gish was not made of singles. You know, Rhinoceros was 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
Shiva had like this long art breakdown in the middle. So we knew we had to write a pop record, but we weren't a pop band. So we did our best effort to write songs that we thought would maybe work in that atmosphere. Disarm, it wasn't like there was a song like Disarm on the radio.
No.
There wasn't a song like Cherub Rock on the radio.
No.
Today was maybe kind of sort of like other stuff, but it wasn't like, you wouldn't say Today was like, smells like Teen Spirit.
No, nothing like it.
We felt outside pressure to make a grunge record, and our reaction was to go.
So, und das ist der Grund, warum Korrekturen immer schwieriger sind, als es von Anfang an richtig zu machen.
So we went to the nines to figure out a language that was wholly our own, the shoegaze influences, whether it was Deep Purple or Sabbath.
Korrekturen brauchen mehr Zeit, sind schwieriger.
Because it was overproduced.
Whatever that means.
Well, in 1993 terms, it meant we were trying too hard.
It's ludicrous when you look back
you look
at it.
now,
Yes.
I mean, with everybody auto-tuned to shit.
Right.
Yeah, But yeah, we were overproduced. So of course I doubled down in interviews and said, no, we were just trying to do Boston and Queen, which, by the way, is not something you're supposed to say in alternative circles in 1993.
I remember when you said that, and I love that. That was so, it was so honest and so.
And it was true.
And true, yeah.
Because I was like, if I'm going to make a record, I'm going out like Tom Schultz. I'm not going out like Kurt. You know what I mean? I'm going out like Tom Schultz. That was, in my mind, that made sense to me.
Right.
But we took a lot of junk for that because somehow layering guitars was something you weren't supposed to do, or using strings. I mean, we were criticized for using strings.
Well, you used strings on Daydream, on the first record, so.
Yeah, but the way we used strings on Disarm, that was too something. And I was like, it's Glenn Campbell, it's John Paul Jones on the Mellotron, on the Zeppa. I mean, what's the difference?
Tonight, did you do the string arrangement on that?
I did mostly. Flood knew a woman whose name escapes me, and I apologize for that, who was a noted, who'd worked with Nick Cave and a bunch of people in the UK scene. So she flew over to write because it was going to be a 30-piece orchestra.
Did you do that with the Chicago Symphony, with the
No, they actually
section?
flew in New York people. It was a heavy hitters group that their people flew in from New York. There were Chicago people. They put together like a real deal.
It's a great string arrangement. It's hard to
But
write string arrangements for rock songs.
Let me take you back.
Okay.
We were working in a place in Chicago called CRC, which I think is closed now. But there was like, the typical studio where there's the desk and the chairs, and then in the front of the board was like this little. We set up like a little workstation area, early version.
Also, der Billy Corgan ist ein Erzähler. Es gibt Leute, die erzählen nicht gerne, und es gibt Leute, die erzählen gerne. Und dieser Typ liebt es, Geschichten zu erzählen aus seinem Leben anscheinend.
So this went on for 4 days. So to her credit,
okay,
she was
passt.
able to add things
Passt.
that lent an air of sophistication
Fertig.
and polyphony and some counter movement. But yeah, probably 90% of it's me, because if you listen.
Oh, jetzt muss ich was essen.
I listen to classical music. If you listen, it's not. It's like somebody pretending.
Nicht wirklich was Vernünftiges gegessen heute.
The great compliment that I got that day, bringing
Oh.
players, and you got 3 hours.
So. Bye bye.
People are making mistakes, and you start thinking, are they making mistakes on purpose and all that? If anybody knows those legends about.
Bis
oops,
nachher.
For another hour, so we were sweating. That was very expensive. One of the guys was like the lead violin or the lead cello. Pulled me aside. So did you write this? I said, yeah, mostly goes.
Bis nachher, eventuell heute Abend, eventuell heute Nachmittag.
So the tone poem.
Auf jeden Fall nachher. So oder so.
When you use strings like that in a tune, especially that has this high.
Hä? 5 ist auch noch nicht?
It's hard to get strings
5 noch gar nicht
to play
hochgeladen.
when they're not dragging. Was there this an issue?
Moment, bei wie vielen Seiten sind wir jetzt?
Thinking about
Also,
this, like, how's this work with
Sekunde
this?
mal,
Does this feel like
Sekunde.
you guys gotta play.
Well, here's the thing. The song wasn't recorded to a click, and we rush and speed up
Und
and slow
das
down.
minus
So
1,
they
2,
created
3, 4,
a
5, 6,
at least a
7.
follow click,
Minus
not
7.
Did
to
someone
grid.
tap it sticks together or something?
No,
or-
Nö, passt. Okay.
Somehow somebody went through and at least put a click, so there was a even if it sped up.
Ich muss Blatt 5 muss ich noch hochladen.
And the lady who'd done the string arrangement on paper led the thing, listened to the click, and I think they did 3 takes. And what you hear is, because it took them a while to get it together to where they felt comfortable to go ahead and do takes. So I think the front half of the song is take 1, and the back half of the song is take 3, and they finished with 2 minutes to go on the clock.
Did you feel that it was the song is so grand, and were you must have been psyched when you heard the strings along with the track,
It was
right?
one of the greatest moments in my life, because you dream it up, and somehow it worked. Like, you know what I mean? It shouldn't work, but it did. Because there's so many points of disaster. Think about it. Like, okay, it's 2022. Everybody works in Pro Tools, right? To do a song like that with no click,
Oh my God,
and then try to put a 30-piece orchestra on top of it,
you would never do that.
with Jimmy rushing fills and blang, dong, dong, and all this. I mean, and by the way, we didn't go back and move anything. So what you hear is them playing.
Well, you couldn't do that really.
Well, you could have, but it would have
So,
sounded like
alle
shit.
Seiten sind online. Das
So
sieht
it's a
gut
miracle
aus.
that it turned out okay. It's kind of wild.
Did you always play without a click on most songs?
It depends. Jimmy and I have different memories of like Siamese sessions about click, not click.
Cool.
Jimmy's
Okay.
a click player now. I
Dann
don't know how he figured out.
nochmal, bis nachher.
Struggle with
Tschüssi
the field.
und
And part of our sound is to rush
bis dort.
back. Musicians who would come in and play with us would talk about Mike Garson, great pianist who played with Bowie more than any other musician on the planet.
Bye bye.
Used to say,
Bye bye.
"You guys play 7 3/4 bars."